Speaking of things that should be deleted, like that scene, Morbius should be deleted from existence.
So, we already had multiple delays and reshoots, right?
Right. A movie that is a Spider-Man, like a fucking C-list Spider-Man villain. Like, I don't think most people know who Morbius is unless they were a kid in the 90s.
They had, when they did the Midnight Suns, I've told you about this, like for like 5 summers in a row, what they would do is they would do a couple of regular titles, they would speed up to 2 every 2 weeks. So you'd get like 6 issues during the summer of like Captain America or X-Men or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they would always have like little side stories in the back, like a 5-page, side story, and those all connected to each other and whatnot. And then they would introduce like 5 new titles. That's where the New Warriors, the New Warriors, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Jim Valentino, Ghost Rider, Danny Ketch, the Morbius, they had a Sons of Vengeance or Midnight Suns comic book, but they introduced all of these different characters, Speedball, and Darkhawk and whatnot, but they introduced all of these new characters, and one of them was Morbius. And it wasn't that good of a book. I'd stopped kind of collecting comics by then. But
I only knew him from the cartoon.
Yeah.
And in the cartoon, he was not allowed to be like a regular vampire because they didn't want him biting people.
Right.
So he had fucking suckers on his hands.
Did you know that
even grosser?
In the comic books, he actually Spider-Man at one point had 6 arms.
Yeah.
And
it was also in the cartoon.
That's when Morbius is introduced. Is that when he's introduced in the cartoon? Because that's when he was introduced in the comic books.
Yeah, because he turns into a spider in the cartoon.
Well, he went down. He reached out to Kurt Connors, who was not the Lizard at the time.
Yeah.
And said, "Hey, man, little help."
Yeah, he grew 2 arms on each side.
And he's like, because he was trying to take away his own powers or some shit. And he's like, "Yeah, I have a place down in the Everglades, like a secluded cabin. It's got all this lab equipment and shit. You can go down there and spend as much time as you need." Mm-hmm. So he went down there, and Morbius in the comics, I can't remember how he shows up, but that's when he's introduced, and he's just boring. I mean,
yeah,
kind of a stupid character.
Yeah, and
why would you want to make a whole movie about him?
Nope. Like I kind of dug the first trailer.
Yeah.
And then every trailer after that is like, I don't give 2 shits about this movie.
And now it's been delayed again, right?
Well, yeah, and I was probably going to see it in the theater for the show, but because they moved the date to April 1st, I might have a baby at that point. So
sorry, assholes.
So, not even that. It's just like, that's a perfect...
Baby Williams comes first.
That's a great excuse not to see this movie in the theater. And based on what we've heard right now, it's a movie that a lot of people are probably going to avoid. I saw there's a whole complaint that people were misled by the trailers.
Wow.
That this movie that they're seeing isn't really anything like the trailers, or in a sense that I think it was very misleading on where it is in the MCU Sony
because Leto
situation.
keeps saying that it's definitely in the MCU, but the MCU hasn't said so. In fact, the silence is deafening, actually.
And I'm pretty sure it came out like maybe last week or something, but it definitely came out that it's in the Sonyverse.
If they cared, Marvel would at least say no. But they don't even care. It's like it's like they're at a press junket and they're like, "Excuse me, Mr. Feige, just had a question over here. Is Morbius in the MCU?" And Feige's just looking at him like,
"This movie."
No, he's not saying anything. and the guy's like, Mr. Feige, and he's like, "I heard you." Next question.
Also,
they don't even give a shit.
It also doesn't help that this movie has been delayed over 2 years. Like, nobody cares.
No.
And you know what? At that point, they should have just released it on streaming. They should have just optioned it off to HBO Max or Disney or somebody, and maybe they couldn't make any money that way. I don't know. I just think that it's.
What's Sony's streaming platform again?
I understand I'm part of the problem here because I saw Venom and I saw Venom 2, both in theaters. I have one of them on Blu-ray. I'm going to get the other one on Blu-ray.
We actually talked about this.
That's a different situation for me because I actually like Venom, and I think Venom can actually work on his own as a character. Morbius can't Because Morbius is just it's a vampire thing, and the appealing part of it was he was a vampire villain in a Spider-Man book.
But you know what sucks about this is it's gonna fucking put the kibosh on what looks like a really cool Kraven the Hunter movie.
I'm fine with that.
Right?
Fuck that.
Really?
Fuck it. Fuck that. Fuck the Madam Web shit. If you're Sony, Sony, wake up. You and Marvel have both and made an agreement with each other that there's a multiverse. So you can make another fucking Spider-Man movie with Andrew Garfield if you wanted. Make it The Amazing Spider-Man 3, and people would go see it and understand it because you just laid the ground rules of there are multiple Spider-Men. There's Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse shit that's animated, but there's also the Tobey Spider-Man, the Andrew Spider-Man, Tom Holland. Do that! Stop doing these fucking villain movies, dude. Yeah. They're not worth your time. Why should I give two shits about a Kraven the Hunter movie?
Because Venom did well. That's how executives
think.
That
because Venom, a character that was already popular and has existed on his own before, had mini-series. I mean, they weren't great comic books, but Donny Cates reignited interest in the character, and so that, and that's also because Marvel Publishing pushed Venom super hard from like around the time when that first movie came out, from 2018 to 2020, with they had a giant the Venom, everything was, they had all this Venom, they had the Venom variant covers, they had
almost every Lego set for 2 years was
King in Black was a fucking whole Marvel Universe event.
The Venomized T-Rex from Old Man Logan.
You don't see any of that shit for Morbius, so clearly they don't even have confidence in that movie.
And dude, I actually bought a set, a Spider-Man set. They had so many just Venom variations, and I bought a Spider-Man set that had a Venomized Iron Man minifigure.
Yeah.
What?
But that's what I'm saying. Venom has been pushed so much as his own character.
Well, he's a good character. He's not, and that's the difference between him and Morbius. Morbius is a shit character.
I like those two movies. I get how people hate them. They're not perfect movies. But I looked at...
We had fun.
I had fun with it, but it's also, again, I have a little bias because I love that character. But the thing with this, I know that were you interested in the Kraven the Hunter movie?
I would go see it because I was reading comics when the Last Hunt
Aaron
came
Taylor
out,
Johnson is a weird choice.
And that was a crazy fucking, when you're that age and you generally read Spider-Man comic books and they're not that dark,
or just
that was a fucking crazy 6-issue. Wow, it wasn't 6; it was a lot, but man.
Or just do Kraven's Last Hunt. Then just do that movie. Just make that movie. People would love that movie. Yeah, he wouldn't be in black suit like in the comics, but you could still do that movie. Why not?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I told you were kind of surprised because I'm the one that loves these trash movies, but it's what people have said. It feels like it fell out of it was made in 2005 and we're in 2022 and the superhero landscape is different now. And I don't know, maybe I can watch it and enjoy it for the campiness of it like I could Venom, but it's not a movie. They should have just released it to streaming.
Morbius is such a confusing character too in the comics. Like, it's never really clearly defined like what his powers are.
Can he be in sunlight? Is that what they? Because
I don't remember.
There was that thing about him being in the sunlight. Hey, that's why he's a living vampire.
I'm going to tell you something. I don't know, and I also don't care.
Why the fuck were they talking about making a Madam Web movie? Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Why? Just make Spider-Man movies.
Do you have a bunch of people clamoring for a Madam Web backstory?
Why is this Spider-Man studio not making Spider-Man movies?
Right? Hello, fuck faces.